Recording. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our immune boosting class. I hope everything finds you well. I'm hopefully going to try to speak to who's on, so to speak, to hit kind of where you're at and how it affects you. So, Carrie, for example, I'm going to be talking a little bit differently than I'm going to be talking to Johnny or Tiffany or anybody else who pops on, because you're in different situations. So I've got faculty, I've got high school, and I've got college in a dorm room right now. So if anybody else pops on that has dorm rooms or other faculty, I hopefully, kind of try to gear it toward everybody. Because I'm recording and I'm just going to say my bio, even though you all know, I am a registered nurse for about 25 years, predominantly in pediatric oncology, and previously before that, intensive care. I've been an integrative health coach for the last 6 or 7 years, integrative nutrition health coach, and I'm also the booster president of Oakton High School Chorus, a member of Oakton High School Drama Boosters, and I have 2 girls in the performing arts, which is sort of how I've come to meld all these various things together. Quick disclaimer, I am not a physician, so I cannot diagnose, treat, or answer questions about medical things. So if you have specific medical questions, I cannot answer those. Also, disclosure, I will near the end talk about some essential oil stuff. I do get paid by Young Living Essential Oils if people buy products through me. So full disclosure there. If I talk about those products. Any other products I mention, completely, I do not get anything from them. They're just products I like or things I like. So in case I mention those. Quick outline of what we are going to be talking about. We're going to talk about why we're having this class. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about COVID-19, not a ton, but just a few things that are related to that specifically. And then I'm mostly going to talk about food, sleep and stress management, a little bit of essential oils, and then at the end talk about wow, I've overwhelmed you, and how do you take this information and use it to improve your health. So why do we need to talk about immune health? Well, the whole purpose of this class is everybody that is on this class is either in musical theater, some sort of performing arts. And so with that, your body is your instrument. So unlike other people that use their hands or, have a desk job or what have you, your physical body is your work and your instrument. So we need to keep your throat healthy, your lungs healthy, and your physical body healthy for everything that you are doing. So, and it's sort of, it encompasses everything. So when I say the whole body, it's also your mental health. We're going to talk about that a little bit, your digestive health, sleep, all that, because it's all connected. So with that, it is even more important to talk about keeping your whole body healthy right now during COVID-19 than it was before. And a couple of you who are on have heard me speak during before shows and tech weeks and for casts and things. So a lot of the stuff is the same that I'm going to talk about, and it's the same stuff, but it's even more important now during COVID. So let's do a quick kind of talk just about COVID-19 itself. What do we know? We really don't know anything yet. And this is my biggest takeaway with that is we really don't know yet what and how and why and all that. So when I say that, some of the things I'm going to suggest is because we do not know. So I'm going to talk about masks in a second, or face coverings, whichever you choose the proper terminology. Thank you, Carrie. Carrie tells us that the proper terminology is face coverings. It's the non-political way of saying face mask. So face covering. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about, hands and social distancing. We do not know yet how this virus really is transmitting and who is getting it. And to take that and know and not know things, what we need to do is really just follow some basic things that we know about viruses and, illnesses in general. And that is they're usually spread by mouth, by nasal secretions, by, spit basically on your hands. And so we are working on protecting those things. So face masks right now are the best way to stop spread of droplets and aerosolization. Do they stop everything? No. You're going to see a lot out there about what it stops and what it doesn't. And really, the long and short of it is it's going to stop the bulk of the particles, and the studies are showing that you wearing a mask and somebody else wearing a mask greatly decreases the transmission. It does not have to be a fancy N95 mask. I have a couple masks here that I was showing you, and I'm going to show you for a reason. So the one thing I want to talk about with masks, and this is, I think, probably the people on right now, mostly affects Johnny, but for other people listening, one of the biggest questions that has come up with me with clients is dancing in a mask. And everybody, and working out in a mask. Some people have worked out and are really struggling, like, what do I do about the mask when I'm dancing? A lot of the masks are really heavy. Okay, so let's say you have one of those homemade masks that people made. They tend to be made with 3 layers of fabric. Those ones are going to be really hard to dance in. So out of the ones I've tried so far, and I'm not a dancer, but at least I've been outside, and of course I wear one all day at the clinic when I'm there. Thus far, and having talked to someone who's already back on a campus and is already in a dance class, who has said it is hard in an advanced dance class wearing a mask. The standard paper disposable mask is probably the best mask currently that I've found for being breathable. So it's the lightest, it's not going to be as heavy on the face, and it is the most breathable. I'm going to show you the proper way to put it on, because most people, not even putting them on, it's taking them off that I want everybody to see. This is my nursing tip for the day. So, all right, here's your mask. You have it on. You got to pull it over the chin. You want it over the chin. Hopefully it has a wire. They don't all do, but if it does, pinch it around your nose, okay? So here is your mask. Here's what most people do all day. This, don't do this. You know why? You're now touching this. It's touching your neck. Do not do that. If you are going to take it off or need to talk to somebody, take it off by the ear loop and do this. I don't care if you leave it hanging. Do this or take it off completely. If you are taking it off to eat, put it face down so the dirty part is touching whatever surface, because you still want the inside that's touching your face to be uncontaminated. The thing we do at the clinic, which isn't the greatest, but we put it on our arms so the back part is outside when we're taking it off. So on, off. Remember that. Now, when I take it on and off, even at the clinic, I do touch it down here a little bit, and I do touch it here. Pinch it again, because it moves a little. In theory, yes, you should wash your hands afterward, because you've now touched the mask just in case. Now, the amount of transmission coming from actual touch, they think, is fairly low, but still wash your hands. So that's my quick mask thing. If anybody has, I've sort of update on Instagram or wherever, if I find some better masks that people are talking are really great for dance, I will post, and I'll, keep people updated on that. But thus far, I think those masks are going to be the best. So get a box of these, save it. If it's not all sweaty and stuff, you could technically save it for your next dance class. If it's all gross, throw it away. But, see if you can save them as much as you can. But box of disposables if you can get them. All right, that was my quick mask, face covering thing for dance classes. I said wash your hands, like I say, in every class that has to do with keeping your immune function up as a musical theater major. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. When you're in the theater, when you're backstage, when you're, doing classes, wash your hands with soap and water. Hand sanitizer is good, but especially nowadays, a lot of alcohol. We're using a lot of alcohol. It's very drying to the hands. Soap and water is really the best if you can actually wash your hands. So save the hand sanitizer for when you are not near a sink. But if you can, wash your hands. This is for my college set mostly, but this is good for really anybody at home too. Social distancing is still important. Do not go off to the parties and the bars and the various places. As I said, your body is your instrument. We are trying to protect your lungs and your throat and your mental health. And if you get COVID, some people, aren't feeling any symptoms, but you got to remember your lungs, your throat, your body is your livelihood. So you don't want to jeopardize that. So if you're going out, wear the mask. Don't invite, 20 people over to your, apartment or dorm or what have you. Just be smart about it and wash your hands and all that. So that is all I'm going to really say about the actual kind of COVID-related things. I mean, the other stuff is related, but in terms of the basics that's out there in the news. Just focus on that, because you don't want your body, you don't want to end up with this, what they call the cytokine storm, the part of the lungs that reacts. That's what I worry about the most in the performing arts world is this virus affecting people in some way in their lungs? Even if they're recovering, is there long-term effects? We don't know yet. This virus hasn't been around too long. So protect your lungs. So with that being said, let's get on to the specifics about improving immune function. My main thing we're going to talk about is, of course, food and diet, what you're eating. The most important way to boost your immune system is what you put in your mouth. I don't know if it was Michael Pollan, the food guy, or somebody else, but basically his mantra is food is the best medicine or the worst kind of poison. And this is very true. What you're eating can affect your immune function, both positively and negatively. Mostly we're going to talk about the positives today, but I'm going to mention a little bit of the negative. So we're going to have a quick science lesson in here real quick. Some of you may have heard this part before, but it's a good review for those who have anyway. Your gut is where all of your immune function starts. 80% or something of your immune function really starts in your digestive tract and in the gut itself, which is the intestine. So you want a very healthy, happy gut. So your gut, looks like this on the inside. It looks like a carpet. And it's like this little happy carpet, and it's all great, and it has all these little villi. And when you feed food, let's say we're going to eat some broccoli. We put the broccoli in, and it's happy. It knows what to do with it. It has all these little receptors, and the broccoli breaks down and binds to it and sends all the nutrients through the little villi and off into the bloodstream in the body. It knows what to do with broccoli. Let's say you eat a Cheeto. So you decide you're going to have a bag of Cheetos. The gut and the villi don't know what to do with a Cheeto. and it sits there and it's confused. And so it starts to get confused and it starts to sort of mat down the carpet because it doesn't really know what it's supposed to do. And it creates these gaps in there too. And then things sleep through and it starts to leak out basically all the bad things that are in the Cheeto that the body doesn't know what to do with. And it starts to cause inflammation in the body. Now, we don't feel that per se, but you feel all that, your body starts to have inflammation, which is what leads to disease. So that is why we want it happy. Now, another example, just to stick with the gut flora health. So somebody with celiac disease who has a wheat intolerance or other, when you get people with irritable bowel syndrome and things like that, this is what happens to their villi. It ends up being like a tile floor. So celiac, they don't have the villi, and this is why they have a lot of problems with digesting things. So that's your gut. Let's put sugar in now. Sugar, processed foods that are, like bagels, donuts, breakfast cereal, things like that have a lot of wheat that break down to sugar, just like straight sugar. The gut will recognize some of that as real food, but the gut bacteria that are in your gut and throughout your body, they really love the sugar. Bacteria and viruses love sugar. So this is an important thing to know as a person in the performing arts. When you're thinking about whether it's you're going into, a tech week or going, back to your, back to school right now, or, getting ready to do a show. If your body is stressed and you're putting in a lot of sugar, what's going to happen is that bacteria, those viruses are going to be like, yay, you're feeding me. I'm so excited. And that is going to help the viruses and bacteria grow. So this is why it is so important to really talk about what you're eating and how to boost the immune system. Sugar, processed foods, a lot of, bread and white flour things, they're going to kind of decrease the immune system in terms of the good fighting bacteria and stuff. The bad bacteria are going to love it and they're going to grow and be all happy. So that's what's to remember about that. So I just wanted to kind of cover the basics of like gut health. So with that, we have got the gut-brain connection. It's called the enteric nervous system. What you eat affects your mental health, and your mental health affects your gut. So it goes both ways. So, people who get really stressed can have digestive problems. People with digestive problems can have mental health problems. I'm not going to go into a lot of that part right now. That's kind of a whole nother class. But majority of your serotonin, dopamine, production of cortisol, they all start in the gut. So how you're treating the gut is going to affect all those neurotransmitters and things that are going to help the brain. So when we talk about this time, where people are really stressed, depressed, or, especially in this industry, we've got an industry that's not working at all. Nobody's working. Nobody can do anything. You get more depression. You get more anxiety. So what you eat starts to become even more important, because if you're sitting around, woe is me, eating donuts and Ben & Jerry's ice cream and stuff, you are kind of feeding all the bad part of your gut. And what are you showing? I see you, Maddie. What are you eating? See, she's showing us her bad food. Look at this. I love it. All right, so she's learning. Well, we're learning together right now. So anyway, so what do you eat is the bottom line. We're getting to the point. What do you eat? You are going to eat the rainbow, and many of you have heard this before. What does that mean? You are going to eat all the different colorful plants, nuts, seeds, berries, all that kind of stuff. And They call them the phytonutrients. And I get this nice little thing. Some of you may have seen this before, but I'll also can send it to anyone that wants. It's called the phytonutrient spectrum, and it has them all by color. So all of the fruit, everything in the plant kingdom that we can eat all falls into a rainbow of colors. And each color has different benefits health-wise. So reds, for example, have anti-cancer properties, anti-inflammatory properties. Orange has a lot of, immune health properties. Green is good for everything, anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, brain health, everything. So what we want to focus on is eating the rainbow and getting the most brightly colored fruits and vegetables in our daily diet. So this is one of the main things I tell people to focus on, is focus on brightly colored foods. And in a minute, I'm going to go through certain kinds of foods to really focus on right now, and that's good for immune boosting. But this is the general thing behind everything. Like, eat the rainbow, think of it that way. Like, really work on how many of them are you getting a day. You really should get 9 to 13 servings a day of the various fruits and vegetables. So there's that. My other little mantra that I say to people to remember as you're trying to think, how am I eating healthy, is if it walks, swims, flies, or grows on a bush, or from the ground really, you can eat it. So that means, is it a chicken that is walking, a cow that's walking, a fish that swims, a bird that flies, things that grow from the ground? You can eat those. If it comes in a package, box, or bag, avoid it. So that's not always, like some things are going to come in a package or, bag that aren't necessarily terrible for you. But it's a general mantra to think about, like, okay, how close to nature did this food come? A chicken breast, pretty close to the chicken that was walking. Chicken nugget from McDonald's, not so much as close to its original source. So see where I'm going with that? Like, there's levels of it. The other way to think about it to help with that whole mantra of, the natural foods versus the packaged foods is shop the perimeter of the grocery store. If you go into a grocery store, the outside square is all the whole natural foods. So you got the produce, right? And then you go this way and it might be meat, or it might be the bakery, or it might be, eggs, or, dairy. That's all around the outside on most stores. What's inside all the aisles tends to be all the packaged box bag stuff. That's all the bad stuff, so to speak. So you avoid the middle part if you can. Now, like I said, this is a spectrum of things, but that is the general way to think about it when you're trying to shop for, healthier foods. So let's get specifically into immune boosting foods. And I'm going to focus on them pretty much by kind of vitamin, mineral kind of things right now, because I'm kind of going to focus on it from the ones that are coming up the most, especially now in this time with COVID-19. These are the ones that are specific for boosting your immune system and your respiratory health. So I'm going to hit on both. They're kind of both entwined, because even flu and other respiratory viruses, it's all the same. So a lot of the viruses out there, all of this is completely valid for. So first thing we're going to talk about is vitamin D. Vitamin D3 it's actually a hormone. It's not actually a vitamin. Not sure why it's called a vitamin, but it stimulates cell DNA production by producing proteins, and some of those then stimulate the lungs, the brain, those parts of the body. What they have found in a lot of the studies with other respiratory viruses, and they're kind of seeing this now, data coming out of Asia and Europe is that low vitamin D levels, if you have low vitamin D, it's associated with higher levels of lung infections. And there's a lot of studies that are hypothesizing that in some of the big influenza epidemics we've had in the last several years, that it is a result of vitamin D deficiency, that's one of the things playing into that. So vitamin D is a really important thing to have in your body. Now, how do we get vitamin D? Mostly the sun. And what do we often do is we put on a ton of sunscreen and we go outside. So what I tell people, which horrifies every dermatologist, but this in the natural community, and a lot of physicians now agree, is that you really should go outside and be outside for about a half hour without any sunscreen on. So you get some natural sunlight, because that's what synthesizes through your skin. What are you guys laughing at? Did I miss something? I see you laughing. Okay, so and you can tell I've had a lot of sun already. So hold on, let me see. I don't have my chat on. This is why I can't see. All right. Oh, I see. Oh, did Carrie already jump off? She did. Sorry. What I didn't say before is I'll try to look at the things, but as I'm talking, I can't see a lot of the questions. But I think Carrie already dropped off. So sunlight, sunshine vitamin. Not everybody can get enough from the sun. If you have darker skin, you do not actually absorb as much vitamin D from the sun as you think. And I had my levels checked last year, and I was shocked at how low they were. They were almost borderline, like really low. And that was after the summer. So some people do not synthesize it as well. So that means you do need a supplement of vitamin D. And I can talk about that later, but vitamin D really important right now. So other foods that have it, fish and eggs, salmon, sardines, tuna, egg yolks. Some mushrooms do, but mostly it comes from non-vegetarian, non-vegan sources. The only other source of that is used in supplements for vitamin D is lichens. If you don't know what a lichen is, I actually had to look it up to remind myself what it was. It's a kind of a combo of algae, fungi, and cyanobacteria. And it grows on other trees and stuff. And they harvest it, and it apparently has a lot of vitamin D in it. It's one of the only plant sources of vitamin D. So, for example, actually both of them. The two vitamin D supplements I do have are actually vegan. So this one I know for sure, this one from Young Living, yes, it is from lichens. And this one, Country Life, that I got from Whole Foods, is also a non-fish source. And and a lot of sources come from sheep's wool, believe it or not. It's kind of a weird thing, but actually that's where they source some of it. So that is vitamin D. That's the only one that you really, other than those few foods I mentioned, you really need a supplement for a lot of people. So that's the one I say, that might be one of the ones, if you're not great about taking any supplements, that would be one to have. Next thing, vitamin C. This is a big one right now. If you've paid attention to the news at all with COVID-19, and really just anytime they're talking about flu season, you're talking about citrus. You're talking about vitamin C being a great, source of, boosting immune function. It is really good for respiratory function, and that is why it's really coming up now. A lot of the studies, they're doing intravenous vitamin C in Europe and other places, not so much in the US, but it's too bad, because it really is, it seems like they're having results in other parts of the world with vitamin C with people who are really sick. So foods, we tend to think that vitamin C is all the citrus, which it is. But the interesting thing is it's not the highest source of vitamin C. So if you are a tropical fruit lover, guava actually is the highest fruit for vitamin C. Bell peppers are really high. Kiwis are really high. And strawberries are really high. Those are all higher than citrus fruit. And then the citrus comes in after that. The next ones, when we're talking vegetables, broccoli, spinach, kale, snow peas. We're going to get, as I go through the next few things, we're going to get some repeats. So kind of pay attention, write down some of those foods, because some of them are going to be ones that everybody should be eating for all the things. So with vitamin C, if you're just eating, fruits and vegetables, nobody's paying attention to the actual milligrams you're getting. But in terms of like a supplement amount, most places are saying about 1,000 milligrams per day if you're going to take a supplement. The other thing to know about vitamin C, and this applies to my over 21 people, hopefully not the under 21 people, is alcohol depletes vitamin C. So if you drink wine, hard alcohol, whatever, it's one of the things, and mainly because it's probably a water-soluble vitamin. I don't know this for sure, but this is what makes sense to me, is that, you flush a lot of, you pee out vitamin C. And if you're, drinking a lot of alcohol that is also, causing you to pee more, you're going to be flushing out a lot more of your vitamins and minerals and nutrients in your body. So vitamin C is one that has been noted that it does decrease it. So if you're trying to increase, your immune function at this time or before a big show or, what have you, you want to kind of know that certain things may deplete your vitamin C levels. So eating a lot of vitamin C, taking vitamin C supplements, great thing to do at this time too. The next one that is really coming up a lot right now is zinc. Zinc is a mineral, not one that people talk about a whole lot. It's a little bit, people get zinc in their food, usually enough, but it's one to sort of focus on anyway right now and make sure you're getting this, because, there are people that are probably zinc deficient that aren't eating these class of foods. A big one is red meat. If you are not a red meat eater, not to have total loss, there are other sources. Shellfish is another big one. Legumes. So what's a legume? That's like chickpeas, sort of, a lot of what, the bean family. Peanuts actually fall into the legume category. So think hummus when you're eating. Think peanut butter, hummus, things like that. The other great source is seeds, pumpkin seeds. I actually brought some up. Pumpkin seeds. It's one of the things early on when the data was coming out of Europe about zinc and COVID-19, I started taking pumpkin seeds to the clinic for the other nurses. So that's a good source of zinc. Cashews, one of the higher nuts. Nuts are great. With all of, the vitamins, nuts and seeds are a big one. If you like nuts, yay, eat nuts for snacks. They are excellent for a lot of the things we're talking about for immune function. Zinc in the body, the way zinc works is it needs protein in the body, and it comes in a lot of sources of protein. But if you're not getting a lot of protein in your body, your zinc is not going to be efficiently working in your body either. So, if you're someone who's completely, let's say, a vegetarian or vegan, and you're not getting a lot of protein in there through nuts or tofu or whatever, you want to make sure you're getting enough protein. Now is a great time to get more protein. Next thing, vitamin A. This is another one that people generally aren't deficient in per se, or at least you don't hear about it. But it is one that also really has great immune function attributes to it. Vitamin A, again, is one of those that predominantly is in animal foods. It's mainly in beef liver. I'm going to guess the majority of people are not eating liver. Great source of vitamin A. Cod liver oil. Carrie dropped off. Carrie actually, his mom is a good Dominican mom. She gives her cod liver oil. So it is great if you can stomach cod liver oil. It is great for vitamin D, vitamin A. I will praise you if you can do it. You can get it in capsules. I hear the capsules are not as bioavailable and as good as the liquid. So I will leave you with that thought. Eggs are another good source. Egg yolks, usually. All the vitamins, this is something to know about eggs. If you're like an egg white eater, thinking like from the old days that, oh, we need to eat egg whites, not the yolk, because people thought, oh, they have all the cholesterol in the yolk. All your nutrients are in the yolk. If you're eating eggs, there's no point in eating the whites, honestly, in just the whites, because everything you need in the egg is in the yolk. So eat the yolk is my bottom line there. Vitamin A is in veggies, but in a different source. It's in beta carotene. Everybody's heard of beta carotene. Carrots, all the bright orange colored veggies are all full of beta carotene. The body just uses it differently. So for immune function, the straight vitamin A that comes from animal sources is actually better for immune function, whereas the carotenoids that help other things are the plant-based ones. So that's what to know about vitamin A. You can get vitamin A supplements, of course. I have not taken one, so I do not have any great known source, brand on that one. But those are the foods for vitamin A. The big thing to know both about vitamin A and vitamin D is they like to be eaten with fat. So if you're taking the supplement, or in the case of, let's say, carrots, you're going to get more bioavailable, more absorption of the nutrients by eating it with fat. So like back in the old day, my mom would put butter on all the vegetables. And, as we went through the low fat craze, like when my children were born, I didn't put any butter, anything on the vegetables. I was like, no, we don't need that. Well, actually, it's good to put some fat of some kind, whether it's olive oil or coconut oil or real butter, that actually helps the nutrients absorb. And that's true of a lot of fruits and a lot of vegetables as well. So just keep that in mind. Healthy fats, good. Avocado, coconut oil, olive oil, real butter. Avoid the fake stuff, margarine, trans fat, all that. Avoid all that. All right, my fave to talk about in the plant kingdom is the antioxidants. What are antioxidants? They are little, we'll call them molecules in the body that eat free radicals. So there are, these bad things floating around from all our toxins we get in our body, all the, pollution, all the bad stuff we get from food, viruses, bacteria, anything kind of bad attacking our body. There's these things, free radicals floating around. And free radicals have a big play. I won't go into it deeper, but in cancer. So you build up a lot of free radicals and you get all this inflammation and it attacks your healthy cells. So antioxidants come around and they beat up the free radicals. So you want antioxidants. Where do we get antioxidants? They are on our absolutely very brightly colored fruits and vegetables, mostly the reds, the purples, some of the oranges. So goji berries, which some people have heard of, some people haven't. It's called a superfood. It's the highest one for antioxidants. My young living people will know that it's also known as the wolfberry or the ninja berry. So if you've seen the ninja red before, you do know that that's in there. That is why the goji berry is in there. The other thing that is really high, elderberry. So one of the things that people have also heard of is maybe elderberry syrup for, when you got, coughs, colds, and things. Some people like to take elderberry syrup. It's super strong. But elderberry is another high one. Then the basic ones in terms of what you can eat: blackberries, blueberries, cranberries, all those really bright colored things, pomegranate, things like that. Those are where your raspberries, of course, all those are the high antioxidants. Dark chocolate is also it. It does not mean go eat a ton of chocolate, but dark chocolate does have good antioxidants in it. Oregano is another source. I'll talk about oregano in a different way in a little bit, but plant-wise, it has a lot of antioxidants, a lot of great properties. So does cinnamon, clove, cumin, turmeric. I'll talk about those when we talk about essential oils a little bit. Kale, beets, they all really high in antioxidants. So again, those brightly colored fruits, going back to that eat the rainbow. We're like eating the rainbow. You want to concentrate on red, purple, green, orange. I mean, the only color I haven't really talked about, not a lot of yellow this time. And I've not talked a lot about white and tan, but most of those are the bright colored ones. That's what you're aiming for. Not going to go into it a lot. The other food that's getting a lot of talk right now that is great for digestive health, great for immune function, causes some people to kind of wrinkle up their nose, but that's the fermented food category. So we're talking about kombucha, kimchi, sauerkraut, any fermented vegetable. They're really in doing some studies, it's all preliminary, but, I try to read as many studies I can outside the U.S. because we have terrible data right now. But looking at Europe, looking at, other parts of the world, what are they finding since they are ahead of us with COVID? And, they do a better job really with food and nutrition, frankly, is that fermented foods really are, they're finding the countries that eat the most fermented foods have some of the lower rates of COVID. So the data's preliminary, but all those foods, probiotic yogurt, kefir, which usually comes out of Scandinavia, that's like a yogurt drink. You see it on the shelf, kind of in the dairy section or by the yogurt. But kefir is a fermented product. Miso, they all greatly increase gut bacteria is what they do. And your gut bacteria kind of helps feed everything and keep everything healthy, as I talked about in the beginning with the gut health and the gut microbiome and all the gut bacteria, the good healthy bacteria, stimulating all the immune function. So great foods there. A lot of you have heard me talk about raw honey before. And of course, all of you that are singers know, especially that I've talked about raw honey in the honey packets and keeping some raw honey with you at all times. There was a study that I heard just today on the radio, actually, that reconfirms what we already knew, but they're kind of re-emphasizing it in this time where people are looking for all sorts of crazy, ways to, combat COVID or boost their immune function. They are showing that compared to antihistamines and other over-the-counter products, that raw honey is better for respiratory illnesses and, when we're talking, colds, cough, flu, there is better results by using raw honey than using some of those over-the-counter products. So, avoid the Sudafed and the Benadryl and the, all those kind of products, raw honey. So what does raw honey do? It's immune boosting. It's an antioxidant as well, like I talked about with the, bright colored veggies. Antibacterial and antifungal. So I don't know if you've heard this before, but a lot of countries use raw honey on wounds. It actually heals open wounds. It's fascinating, but they'll put honey on a wound. Gut health, great for that. And of course, throat care. Is my throat now sounding scratchy? As I've talked to a lot of you before, raw honey, great for soothing the throat, great for helping with that throat bacteria, good stuff in the throat. So vocal cord health, raw honey, but respiratory health too. Good stuff. The other thing that I picked up from one of my many Broadway blogs I follow, many of you may have heard of apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar is, again, it has some bacteria medium in it, kind of like kombucha, that sits in the bottom. And it stimulates good gut health as well. Great for health, great for throat, apple cider vinegar. But the product that I found on the Broadway blogs was this fine product called Fire Cider. This stuff has cayenne in it. This sounds like something Miss Powell would have concocted, honestly. It is raw vinegar, raw honey, lemon, onion, orange, ginger, horseradish, garlic, turmeric, habanero pepper, and black pepper. Okay, I was afraid of this. I was super afraid. But I do a little shot of it, and I've been trying to do one every day. I'm trying to be, like, this is one of my health goals, is, like, really trying to actually do it every day. It's not, the taste is a little sweet because it's got the honey in it. It does have the, you get the I think the habanero pepper kick. You do get, it's not so spicy that your mouth's on fire, but it definitely has a kick. But this is great. All the Broadway people swear by this, especially if they feel like they're coming down with something before a show. Fire cider, there you go. There's my little tip. And of course, teas. Most of you know of teas. One of the, did I even bring it? Most of us have heard of the throat coat. There are other teas out there. What makes throat coat and other teas good for throat and respiratory health? Same with this. I'm just going to show you this supplement that I like. It's by Gaia. It's Turmeric Supreme. It's for sinus support, it says. It used to say respiratory support, but they changed the label for some reason. What's in this have similar plants. Slippery elm, stinging nettles. What else does this one have? I kind of forget. There's something. More turmeric, fever flu, whatever that is. All these weird, herbs and plants are in these various teas and products. Those are all great for respiratory health. So if you see, all those, slippery elm, stinging nettles, all those in teas, those are great teas for throat and respiratory health. Okay. We've mostly covered all the food things I wanted to talk about. One of the things I didn't really talk about, a lot of fats. Avocados, great for health when we're talking healthy fats. I really wanted to just focus on a lot of the nutrients, vitamins, minerals that are really to focus on for respiratory health right now. But healthy fats, a good amount of protein. If you're not getting enough protein, your body doesn't function well either. Obviously, avoid the processed foods. It's hard. Breakfast is a hard one because a lot of the things in the breakfast category are some of the things that we really should all avoid. Bagels, donuts, breakfast cereal, they all break down to sugar and they don't really have any nutrients. So when you're thinking breakfast, try to think eggs, think oatmeal. Like, what can you put in oatmeal? You can, add dairy or nut milk to it. You can add nuts. You can put, fruit. You can put different things in oatmeal. there's that. There's, I love to tell people to roast up a bunch of sweet potatoes or even regular potatoes, if you don't like sweet potatoes, and then maybe make some, low sugar breakfast sausages with it, or even bacon. I'm not anti bacon or, anything. Eat things that give you some protein and have nutrients in them. Try to get plants with breakfast. That one's a hard one. If you're doing a smoothie, it's easier. Like you do a fruit smoothie, throw in spinach, throw in some nut butter, because you want to have protein in a smoothie as well. So unless you're buying a protein powder, you really want to add something to that, whether it's whole nuts or almond butter or peanut butter or whatever. Get some protein, get some greens in there. Spinach is a good one if if it's not like the whole, box of spinach. It tends to kind of take on the taste of the fruits and stuff. It's a good disguised one. So that's my thing on breakfast, because breakfast is really the hardest one when we're talking, getting more rainbow and less of the processed stuff. I mentioned, obviously a couple supplement brands as I went through. Vitamin D is really the big one. If you're not getting enough vitamin D, don't get any sun, vitamin D really is the big one. Most sort of functional medicine doctors are really saying about 5,000 units a day. I didn't get my sheet. There is the Institute of Functional Medicine has a website that has a bunch of resources, and I can send you the website, but I think it's just imf.org. They have a lot of resources for if you go under, took me a minute to find it, but basically it has some sheets that basically say, here's some great supplements and the amounts you should be taking right now. So that's one. The other two that I didn't hit on with the foods, because mostly, we're talking, students for the most part right now, and your budgets are small, you're not spending a fortune on supplements. So, I'm not going to talk a lot about supplements, but omega-3, an omega-3 supplement, DHA, EPA blend, is a good one to have, and a probiotic is good too. That with vitamin D are the three top ones I tend to tell people to take. I generally don't tell people to take a multivitamin. Most people pee it out and don't absorb it anyway. That's a whole nother subject. I'm looking at your question, Thomas, real quick. Would cooking one of the vegetables in fat provide the same effect? Yes, it does. So, when you're talking about vegetables and cooking it, yes, that's an excellent way. Or if you're making like a kale salad, kale everybody knows is like tougher than tough and needs a little massaging of dressing, like massaging in olive oil and the stuff into it really helps with the taste too. So yes, cooking with fats. I like to roast vegetables. I steam some, but kind of heavy on the roasting. So I will use olive oil or coconut oil mostly is what I use. So hopefully that answered your question, Thomas. All right. Any more questions on foods themselves really quick? Anybody have any questions? Because I'm going to move off of food as our time is ticking. I'm going to move on to talking about stress management and sleep a little bit. So, my big thing outside of food is sleep. Getting enough sleep. I'm going to guess most of you on this class are not getting enough sleep. And when I say not enough sleep, if you're not answering 7 to 9 hours, yeah, I'm looking at you, Tiffany. If you're not getting 7 to 10 or 7 to 9 hours of sleep, you really aren't getting enough sleep. Most of you right now have no excuse for not getting enough sleep. You are not in any shows right now. Most of you have not been in school. If you have children, you have an excuse, or you have other jobs. Yes, you have reasons, but right now, if you're not doing heavy show stuff or working a lot, sleep you really should be getting a lot of right now. Why is it so important? Sleep restores your body at night. It is what boosts your immune system back up. It repairs things at night and really resets the body. This is especially important with mental health. Like if you are not getting enough sleep, it starts to affect the hormone cycle. It affects the adrenal gland, which is where a lot of the hormones are produced. That's where cortisol is produced. So if you're really stressed and you're stressing your body out with not getting enough sleep and then everything else, whether it's, anxiety about finances or anxiety about, your musical theater program or anxiety about college applications or what have you, your body needs that time to repair and rest at night. And if it's not, your cortisol just keeps cranking and it keeps going up, and it's eventually going to stress out the adrenal gland. When you stress out the hormone cycle, you're also going to start stressing out the other hormones. So when you hear hormones, most people think, oh, like we're talking like female hormones, or we're talking testosterone and estrogen and stuff. No, all the various things, serotonin, dopamine, all of those are in that cycle. So if you are not, if you are getting too much cortisol, your serotonin is affected, your dopamine is affected. So this is where you get that cycle of your brain, gut, it's all circling around and affecting each other. So 7 to 9 hours a night. Alcohol also affects sleep. I'll throw that in there too. Most people think, oh, I drink, you drink a lot, you pass out or you get tired. Alcohol actually makes your sleep cycles worse. So you want to limit alcohol, especially if you're doing a show, but now, if you're going back to school, or if you're now in an apartment with, people, like you're all together. So, you want to start thinking about all these things like, am I getting enough sleep? Am I, getting some de-stressing time? And in a minute, I'm going to talk about like people living together, in smaller spaces right now for those that are going, back to school. So how you can't sleep, you have anxiety, whatever. What kind of things are we talking about in terms of being able to sleep? One of the big ones I talk about with clients that people don't realize that is really affecting their sleep pattern are your screens. Whether it be your iPhone or your reading stuff. A lot of people are reading electronically now, or just watching TV. TV doesn't seem to be as bad for some reason, but so many people are on like a smaller screen, their computer, a smartphone. You're getting a lot more blue light. Plus your distance is so much shorter. So you're getting a lot of that blue light, and it affects the sleep patterns. And the studies show that it takes about 2 hours from the time that you shut that last screen off that your brain starts to actually go into a sleep pattern. So think about that. Like if you're not going to bed till like 1 a.m. and you're trying to get up at 6 o'clock, and you've been on a screen, you've now shrunk it by 2 hours, really, 2 more hours. So really your body is thinking it's only sleeping from 3 to 6 in that scenario. So screens, decreasing screens, other calming things like calming apps. A lot of, people use calming apps right now. If that, works for you, whether it's a story or ocean sounds or music, essential oils, there are calming ones, diffusing those, putting them on your pillow, under your nose, what have you. Those can help. Magnesium, if you're having a chronic problem sleeping and you're like, oh geez, I feel like there's not, I'm not that stressed. A lot of times magnesium deficiency can be the case. So magnesium before bed is a good one to take. Yoga, of course, is another one that is, a good practice that's very calming. Mindfulness, meditation, even if it's for like 5 minutes, trying to get into a meditation practice, calming, all that kind of thing. I talk about journaling with clients a lot. Sometimes that's calming. Sometimes in the morning to set the day and kind of calming practices. Journaling can help, and at night, reading at night versus screens. Melatonin. Melatonin is a tricky one. I really had a great example over the summer. I had a client who was really having trouble sleeping, had gone back to her school and was starting to work and stuff, and she was not sleeping well, and I think just adjusting to the new situation was stressful. So she started taking melatonin. Her sleep got worse, and she was like, I'm increasing my melatonin, I don't know what's going on. Here's a little known fact about melatonin: less is more. And you can Google this, but the lower doses of melatonin are actually better. As you increase the dose, it sort of causes an awake effect. And there's well-known research on that, but it's not, most people don't know that. And when you read the label, it's like, take X amount. It's higher than really what you should be taking. It's almost half of what the average bottle of melatonin says. So if you're a melatonin taker and you feel like you're not getting good sleep, try cutting it back and see what happens. So there's my little piece on melatonin. Other stress management. This is a huge one. Huge one right now when so many people are inside, worried about being outside. Now it is summer, but especially when this whole pandemic started, people weren't going outside. People were afraid to go outside. Get outside. Sunlight is also known to decrease viruses. Now, the argument could be, COVID's still rising and there's people at the beaches and here and this and that. It's still, sunlight, fresh air are all really good things, and they also help your mental health. So mostly when we're talking stress management, getting out in nature, getting some sunlight are all good for mental health. This is huge right now. So get out without a mask. Now, not if you're in clumps of people, but yes, you can go walk without a mask. Yes, you can go run without a mask. This is one of the things that came up a lot with clients over the summers. They were going out in the 95-degree heat trying to run with a mask on. Unless you are standing next to someone, you do not need to run with a mask on. The COVID transmission, if you had COVID and if another person had COVID, is so small while you're passing somebody running, and most people divert around like people anyway. You do not need to wear a mask while running. You do not need to walk your dog with a mask on. If you're, have really poor immune function and you know that, okay, wear a mask. But for the most part, you do not need to wear a mask while you're outside walking in nature. And just go be peaceful in the, on a trail, in the woods, somewhere. That is really important right now, especially for those people that are now in dorms. So, not dorms, well, dorms too, but if you are now in an apartment doing online school, talking to a few of you specifically right now, you need to get outside. Get walks, get sunlight, get the fresh air. Because you're all cooped up in a little tiny space, you're not going to have time away from each other. You're not going to have that stress management. It is so important to get outside and get some walks. Even in the winter, get outside. It makes a difference. So I'm going to specifically talk about this is going to be specifically aimed at the college people that are back, but now stuck in apartments or dorms by themselves, and really some people who are stuck at home with family in tight spaces. You also need to figure out how to create a routine in your own personal space. So everybody should think now, and there was this great post and I hadn't even really thought about my personal space, like where I am physically right now, until I saw this post. So there is a Broadway tour person, Talia, I don't know her last name exactly, Suker or something like that. She's Elphaba on the Broadway tour, and she's now home in her parents' home. And she did a post about how she redid her bedroom because her bedroom was still her childhood bedroom, and that's the case for a lot of people that are still home. And she's like, here I am, a professional, and I'm living in my parents' home. She's like, this is not a space that is me. It is not, it wasn't making her happy. It was not, a good functional space for her. So she changed it up, painted the walls, that kind of thing. Same thing for people at home, for people going into online school if you're in a high school setting. Same thing, create your own space. In the spring, people kind of did whatever. People were sitting in their beds. People were, in their pajamas. Now that we're going into this for real, create a space that is yours and that you can separate from other people somehow. I know for some people that's going to be hard. This is the same for the people in the apartments and sharing dorm rooms. You have to really talk to each other and figure out how you are going to create your own space and work with each other, because that is not only going to obviously affect your work, but it is going to affect your mental health so much. You need to figure out how you're going to have your own space. So funny enough, in January-ish, I create this used to be our guest room. I decided right before COVID, who knew, that I was creating my, I needed my own space. I am so glad I did now, because before I was at the kitchen table, I was, at the dining room table with people coming in and out. So figure out how you can create a space. For some of you, it's going to be in an apartment where you don't have a lot of workspace. Figure it out. Work with each other, kind of create like, okay, maybe part of the day, this is my, my space. If you're sharing a bedroom, like, okay, how are you going to do that? Do you create, in a dorm room, do you have a divider? Do you have, something to sort of create some sort of space? Or where can you go? Some apartments do have, like common areas. Can you go there? I know it's not completely private, but think through all of those things, because this is really important for your own stress management and just not going cuckoo in your apartment. The other thing to do is, this can work for high school or college people, is I know a lot of the elementary, high school people are doing this, but you can think of it in the college sense too. Create pods. So if people are in the same classes together that you normally would be in person, start thinking about, okay, creating friend pods at this time. And I know this sounds like, I almost hate to talk about this because I feel like, people should see people. I don't want to discourage people from seeing people, but at the same time, creating a group that is not going out to the bars and is a safe, COVID-free group, or a healthy group, however you want to think about it. Flu, if you want to think about it that way. Like, create groups of people that you can, be transparent with, honest with, and you can still hug. This is the thing, like, a lot of people aren't hugging even their family members. You can hug your family members. You can hug your friends. If you guys have been with each other, your roommates, so let's say you got, 4 roommates and you've, all been around each other and you are, you're not exposed to other people, you can hug each other. Yes, you can, for some people, personal touch, when you talk about love languages, like some people need hugs. So don't be afraid to hug, as long as they're not going off to the bars and, hanging out with, people doing risky behavior. But think about all those things in terms of stress management, your mental health. One of the big things right now you can do, sort of an outlier that nobody thinks of in terms of mental health, is service to others. I know this sounds like a weird one, but actually the big studies on mental health show that doing things for other people boosts and improves your immune health. They tell people that, when they're, therapists are talking about depression, anxiety, things like that. Focusing on other people and doing things for other people helps your own mental health. So you might have to think outside the box in the COVID time. Like, maybe you're helping out, in a, food kitchen, or maybe you're delivering, canned goods to, a place that needs them for people who have food scarcity right now. Things like that. But even things like thinking outside the box, like, okay, I'm in musical theater. What can I do for my school? Or what's not happening now? Okay. Let's say you worked in the scene shop. That was your job. You were on campus. You worked in the scene shop. Well, there's no scene shop. Nobody's paying anybody to work in the scene shop because you don't have any shows. So maybe you talk to the department and say, like, what is it you need? Like, what can I do for free? Now, some of you are like, I need money. Yes, I get that. But at the same time, what can you do to help others in this time? Maybe, you help with the costume department. Like, they're not spending any money. What can you do to create something for them? What can you do to help out? What can you do to help your fellow classmates? Just checking in on other people. Like, we assume all our friends are okay if we see them, but you know what? There's a lot of people right now that are struggling, and they're not going to say they're struggling. So, look out for your friends. Make sure that you're checking in on your friends. Check on those friends, in the dorm who maybe don't get to see, a lot of people. Everybody, especially in the musical theater industry, is really having a hard time right now in different ways. And it affects people in all different ways, whether you're in college or you're a professional or you're, applying. So think about how you can help each other, and think how you can get out there and help other people, and think outside the box and do something good for other people. So there's my little spiel on service. It boosts mental health. What am I doing? I've been doing a lot of free coaching, and I did this class for free. So I am doing I did a lot of free coaching all summer. All my clients this summer, I did for free, that were in musical theater or theater. That was my piece. That's how I decided, in an industry that can't afford to spend a lot of extra money. That's what my giving level, figure out what works for you. All right, I got to wrap it up. But real quick, let's talk about quickly, because I could do a whole class, obviously, on essential oils. And most people on the class, at least right now, know about essential oils. But the calming oils, lavender, patchouli, which a lot of people love or hate, cedarwood, those are all calming oils, good bedtime oils. There's a bunch of other blends that some of you know about, or, if people are really interested in more calming oils, I can tell you more ones there. But diffusing, putting on your pillow, things like that. Immune boosting oils. The other thing that essential oils are good for, because they are extracts of plants, trees, shrubs, grasses, is there are ones that do boost immune function. Now, back when I talked about food, especially when I was talking about, was I talking about zinc? No, it's when I was talking about the antioxidants. Oh, no, I did talk. Sorry. I'm going back on my thoughts. When did I talk about? Oh, maybe I only talked about oregano once. All right. So oregano, we're going to go back to antioxidants. Oregano, super powerful plant and essential oil for immune function. It is what they call a hot oil. It will burn. There is if you have not heard it, there is a great podcast by Carrie Butler. She does a podcast. I forget the name of it. Broadway something. I can let you know if you're interested in what it is. So the podcast she talks about with her vocal coach, they talk about a ton of health related stuff. They talk about oregano and using it for throat stuff, and when they feel like they're coming down with something, they talk about garlic too. It is the craziest podcast if you have not heard of it. It has some great tips, but oregano, great oil. The other one is a blend that happens to be by Young Living. doTERRA, the other company, big one out there, has one similar. But basically what Thieves is clove, oregano, clove, cinnamon, lemon, a little eucalyptus. Those, my dog is barking. So clove, cinnamon, great antioxidants, and they are great for immune function. It's good for diffusing. It's good for putting on topically. For those who don't know essential oils, you can use them aromatically. You can put them on topically. You can ingest some of them too. So certain oils are great for that. Again, this Thieves blend, clove, cinnamon, oregano, those are all good ones. If you are not familiar with essential oils, do not go to Target and buy the essential oils or buy the Bed Bath & Beyond ones. They are not pure. I cannot vouch for their antioxidant properties if you're getting it from Bed Bath & Beyond. That's all I'm going to say on that one. Get it from a quality source. I use Young Living. If you want to get it somewhere else, that's fine too, but just know that it comes from a reputable source. All right, that's it. Have I totally overwhelmed you? That was like the bulk of what I was talking about. So I've talked about a lot of things: food, stress, oils, everything. So if you're overwhelmed, you should be. Where do you start? So here's what I tell people in terms of, when I was talking, maybe there were some things that stuck out to you more than others. Maybe some of the food stuck out to you, or maybe the stress management stuff stuck out to you, or the sleep. Think about that, and then think about, okay, what little steps can I take now? You could try to take on all these things and do it at the same time, but if they're not in your habits, it is really hard to try to be like, woohoo, I'm taking on everything. I'm going to change everything right now. I'm going to be the healthiest I can be. Little baby steps is the best way to do it. And this is how I health coach people. So when I work with people one-on-one for health coaching, what we talk a lot about is little steps. So we talk about what's sort of coming up for each person at the moment that's the most important to them. It might be, like I said, sleep for someone. If sleep is a big one, then we're going to talk about sleep. And we're going to start with little things like, okay, maybe 2 days a week you aren't on your screen a half hour before bed, or maybe an hour before bed. We start small. So it might be that just a half hour. Maybe that's like a lot for you. I mean, I honestly have clients that are like, I'm on my, phone, to the minute I go to sleep, and I'm on 12 hours a day and blah, blah, blah. So a half hour is a big deal. 2 hours optimal. Half hour, we're going to start with that. So start with small things. Break it down into small, what I call SMART goals. Small, I'm going to mess it up, small, measurable, attainable, timely. Oh, what was R? I skipped R. I'm drawing a blank on the R. But what it means is break it down so that it has a time limit, it has a specific goal, and it's not overwhelming for you. If it's something you can't do, like when I talk about people about increasing working out, as people were home, they're like, I really want to get back into, doing exercise. 7 days a week is too much for a lot of people. Most people cannot snap into 7 days. We were starting with 2 days a week. You're going to do half hour, 2 days a week. And, for some people, like, that sounds so small. It's called baby steps so you have success, because then you build on the success. So I don't expect anyone to come off this call and, be, eating the rainbow every day and never eating a processed food and, sleeping 9 hours. That's, ideal and the optimal, thing. But do I even do all that? No, like we're all on a spectrum. Some people are here, some people are here, some people are here. And we're all in different points of what we're working on. So figure out what works for you and what you feel like you need to work on the most. Because what you feel like you need to work on the most is what's going to help your health the most. If you're stressed out, it doesn't matter how much broccoli you eat. If you need to work on your stress and your sleep, nobody cares about the broccoli, or at least your body's not going to care. So, see the point? But if you're getting great sleep, but you're eating all junk food, then you're working on the food. So, I hope that makes sense. Accountability. Having an accountability partner is great. That's what a health coach does in part. Comes up with the goals with you and becomes the accountability person. But, even somebody at home, if you tell, your roommate, your friend, your parent, your, spouse, what have you, help you with the goals. Like, so they, that you have some sort of accountability. That helps with you stick with that. Keeping a journal, a schedule, that kind of thing. So that is sort of it. Does anyone have any questions, thoughts? You can unmute yourself at this point if you want. I do private health coaching, as I said. That's one-on-one. I am offering right now, I'm doing a 50% off thing. So if you want to sign up and do individual health coaching, that's basically what that means is I meet with people about twice a month, every other week, because you work on the goals in between the time. And it's 30 minutes to an hour, depending on what you want to talk about. I mean, I've had some clients this summer that are like, I don't have much to talk about. I've got my goals. We're done in a half hour. Some people, we're really working through things, and it's an hour. And we do that twice a month. And over the summer, what we found is I thought I would, could wrap people up, 3-month time frame. 3 months is actually hard. So really, when you're only meeting every other week, 6 months is really the optimal time to work on health changes if you're working with a coach. But think about that also with your own personal goals, even if you're not working with somebody. Think of it long term. Like, it takes about 6 months to really start getting the habits to stick. One of the first things I got rid of, I was a huge regular Coke drinker when I first became a health coach. And that was the first thing I kind of really focused on, was getting rid of juice in the house for my kids at the time and soda for myself. That took time. It was, a slow process. And the kicking and screaming of no juice took a while too, with the kids. So it's a process. But then, 6 months later, I mean, I haven't bought juice in years. My kids drink water. When we go out, yeah, they have a soda or whatever. But at home, everybody has water and nobody complains. So it takes a while to get there though. So think of it long term, like, okay, I'm going to work on eating more broccoli, let's say, or leafy greens, getting more plants at breakfast or something. Think about it long term, like you start and maybe you have it twice a week. And then maybe 6 months from now, you're eating it every day. But start small and build on that. That's how you create the lasting habits, the lasting immune function, the best possible function for doing 8 shows a week, and making all that money on Broadway that we all hope that you're all eventually, going to do. So that's where we're going. We're keeping the body super healthy so it doesn't get sick. Not just COVID, anything. Whether it's a cold, the flu, I don't know, digestive, stomach bug, anything. This is all about keeping yourself healthy. And these are the steps to sort of work on. So that's it. Any questions? Anybody? Thank you for hanging with me for an hour and a half. Surprised I wrapped up that quick. Oh, all right. Any questions, thoughts? Thank you, those who stuck with me. Johnny gets the prize for being on the whole time, and Tiffany. Thank you for joining us, Thomas. We have not met, but I'm glad to see you on. I hope to meet you very soon. And all the other people that were on and hopefully are listening to the replay. Thank you for listening. I know it was a super long class. So if you have any other questions or thoughts, you can email me, text me. I am on Instagram. Theater RN is mostly on Instagram. I generally don't put a lot of theater. I have a page on Facebook. I haven't been using that one a whole lot. I'm mostly on Instagram. Am I Nicole Jacobson Theater RN, or am I just Theater RN on there? It's either one of those. My email, in case you need it, is my business email. The Theater RN one is Nicole Theater RN, TheareE. Did I even spell that? Did I spell that wrong? I skipped a letter. It's theater the proper way, rn@gmail.com. I'll even write it in here so that, in case anybody needs it here. Hold on. Wait, no. Sorry. Oh, everyone. I do have a website, theaterrn.com. But I mean, it's a website. I don't put a lot of, I don't blog on there. But if you need information, I do workshops and stuff if people want, and talks and stuff. All right, I put my email in there. Yeah, that's it. I hope everybody has a good year this year with all these challenges. I'm always here for thoughts, questions, anytime. I don't charge for questions. So feel free on Instagram, text, wherever to send me, questions or thoughts. So, yeah. All right, I'm going to turn off. Sorry. I am going to, all right, I'm going to turn off the recording. I think on both these.